say why are we all here together, but last year both Chris and Loretta presented for us on the Daytime Emmys. That's where they met, and we're going to get into how that meeting of the great minds is going to really create a lot of good. I'm sure a lot of you know that Loretta is the greatest champion of the animals, and Chris came onto the show with Harley, with wonderful Harley, the service dog, and Harley has the day off today, I'm told. I was hoping to have her right on my lap. She was amazing on the show. Chris presented with Brandon McMillan and Harley. They were like a trio of presenters, and it was really just fabulous. So we might as well just start with, for the General Hospital fans, I hear we're about to see more of you, or?
Yes, I can't give any details, of course, but I'll just say keep an eye out in the next following months or so.
Yeah, and you're not going to tease us with anything?
I'd rather just keep it a mystery, yeah.
Okay. There is a romantic thing I'd love to see happen, but I'm not going to make you tell me.
Yeah.
With Maxie. But I don't know if that's happening or not. I have no inside information. But no, it's great. I know they love you there, and we love you there, and it's great.
Yes.
So other than saving the world, what are you up to?
Well, here with my hero.
Yeah,
we're
mine
gonna have
too.
a lot of things to talk about. We'll get to that. What am I up to? I'm looking forward to doing a film next year. Oh, you mean like professionally?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's like not important right now. You know, I'm here also to receive the Icon Award, and
On Sunday night?
On
Yeah.
Sunday night, yeah, and that's thrilling. That's wonderful.
How does it
And,
feel to be an icon?
How
Does it feel any different now that
I
you're
don't
an
know,
icon?
you gotta tell me. Yeah.
You're not old enough to be an icon. It was my 28-year-old hero. It's amazing to be so honored, you know. But I've been very, very busy with my charity, Sweethearts Animal Alliance. I've been very busy allying with some wonderful groups that are going to help my cause, which we're going to talk about. So that's what I've been doing. There is a movie in the offing for March or April.
Great.
That will, it's a romantic comedy, which is nice, a light, fluffy, happy thing. We need that right now, don't
Right.
we?
Oh, we really need that right now.
So initially, that's sort of what's happening, a lot of appearances, and I've been doing a lot of book signing. I want to give my hero a book. And
Good.
so
And
that's
I'll say that her book, it's called Sweetheart, right?
Sweetheart.
Swit
Animal
Heart.
Alliance. Oh, Swit Art.
Swit Art.
Yeah, Swit Art.
Gorgeous book, which we'll show you when somebody brings it over. Because I don't know how many of you know that Loretta is an artist. She's done all these amazing paintings, mostly of animals?
Mostly of animals, because that's my thing. That's what reaches out to people. They want, I get commissions for doing their portraits, you know, their pets and
Yeah.
their animal companions and so forth. So, and all the money goes into my treasury, my Sweethearts Animal Alliance, and we'll tell you more about where the money
Yeah,
is
well,
going.
why don't we go there, though, and
let's
tell
go
us
there.
well, first tell us what Sweetheart does. I mean, what the Alliance does, where the money goes, who it helps, kind of stuff.
It goes into helping bring back the dogs from Afghanistan to reunite with their handlers. And Chris has a nice background in that and a nice story to tell you about that. And basically, that's where the money is going to. That's my main project now. Overall, anybody approaching me with needing help for an animal, that's what we do. But our big goal right now, our big thing
Those
is
military
helping those
dogs.
dogs. Yeah, and
amazing.
I love the
Amazing,
military. I've always been very military oriented in it. People think, oh well, sure, MASH. No, MASH was really more medical than it was army.
Well, it was both, right?
But I've always, I think, I did a documentary about POWs in the Second World War. I'm very close to my POWs. I do the keynote speech at every reunion. They've made me an honorary descendant. I mean, I love these guys, and I did this documentary trying to teach people about what our guys give us, what they sacrifice, what they give up, and we can't you cannot thank them enough. There are no, and I always begin my speeches with that, but okay, you know this already. I cannot thank you. We cannot thank you
Right.
enough. So, and it's very true. It's
Well,
very
it's
true.
amazing that, I mean, MASH was obviously an amazingly funny show, but there was also a lot of heart-wrenching drama.
Absolutely.
I think it managed through the laughter to show the horrible conditions that those heroes go through.
It
Yeah,
is those conditions that brought you the laughter. These people would have lost their minds if they didn't find ways to joke about it. And we kept that undercurrent always. You always knew that we were crazy because we had to be. We were working in an impossible situation.
Yes.
And to combat that, we had to be crazy, do pranks and tell jokes and
Yeah.
run after each other, looking for, not necessarily for sex, but solace and warmth and companionship and friendship. But you're doing that, by the way, in Korea, which is the coldest country in winter in the world, and in the summer, the hottest. Here are the 3 things that killed us in Korea. Frostbite, number 1, snake bite, number 2, and the war and the police action, number 3. So our boys were dying from the elements, you know. So it's and the women whom I represented they volunteered to be there. I mean, they weren't drafted.
Right.
That's the 50s. They weren't drafted
Right,
women.
right.
They volunteered to be in those conditions
Which
and
is
do that kind
extraordinary,
of work.
right? I
So
mean-
you have to go, hey, girls, you know, you're
Yeah.
really something.
I'm just going to ask them, this is very informal. Are we okay with the sound? I saw,
What's the hair on the microphone?
say again?
Hair on the microphone. Is hair on the microphone?
Oh, your hair is,
My hair is on the
I'm
mic.
sorry to,
Oh.
this is not a Me Too moment. I'm just helping the sound man. Okay, okay. Is better, Kent? Okay.
Well, it's nowhere near my mic. Could it be the rustle of my jacket?
That might be it too.
We're good. We're good.
Told you about looking.
Looking,
See.
right, right.
Looking. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we spent a long time deciding how to sit. So, Chris,
No.
you know, not to embarrass you, but could you, for any of them who don't know, just kind of give them a Reader's Digest version of your story? Because, again, you're one of my heroes.
Oh, thank you.
Not only because you're on General Hospital, but because of what you went through. And seriously, I mean, he is seriously a hero. So,
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, to start off, I guess, I actually grew up watching MASH. My mom, huge fan of MASH. And so, you know, back then, when I was a child, I didn't really understand. Like, I understood it, but I didn't think I truly understood it. And then after I got injured, I remember there was an episode, and I can't remember, but it was one of the more serious episodes. And it just, like, it all struck me, like everything that I had watched. And-
Sometimes you hear the bullet, maybe. A
Yeah.
friend was dying, and
Yeah.
the doctor had to be sent out of the OR because he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Does that sound reminiscent? Or,
It was,
and then, of course, one of our stars died. McLean Stevenson was shot down on his way home. He was free. He was
His
going
character.
home.
Yeah.
And his character.
yeah, we got to
Yeah.
make that.
Well, you know, he
Yeah, but that was
died,
probably one of the
McLean
most
died
devastating
terribly young.
episodes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
losing him.
Yes.
But Chris, in real life, as I understand it, and I'm not trying to tell your story, but your accident might have been avoided if the dogs hadn't been down for the night. Is that true?
I would like to think so. The hard part about it being at night over there is that a lot of the confirmations that we get when something is there is visual.
Yeah.
You know, what we can see. And so had it been during the daytime, things would have definitely been different. Had it been at night, who's to say, especially because I was the second one that night to step on a bomb, so that substance was already all over the place. Even if Harley hadn't been out there, she would have been sniffing and sourcing like crazy. And it's just,
So she would have smelled from the other bomb that and
yeah,
it would have been
yeah.
confusing? Or-
It would have
yeah,
been
yeah.
it would have been tough, and plus she can't see where she's really going either.
Right.
You know, at night they don't have dog night optics or
Right.
thermals. So
Right.
yeah, I would have liked to say that had she been out there, it would have been different. But I'm also I wouldn't say glad, but had she had gotten injured too, it would have been
Bad for her as well.
just as
yeah.
devastating.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was. You know, when I was recovering, she was right there by my side. From the day I got her back till today, she's been there for me.
That was the thing that really we talked about. It was so touching backstage when we were waiting to go on at the Emmys. She was sitting next to you, and her eyes never leave you.
No.
I mean, if you like
We're
just
best friends.
got up for a second, you sat down, back down, got up. She was, and there was chaos, as there is backstage, and she never stopped looking at
No.
you. And I just kept thinking,
And
nothing's ever going to happen to him.
Totally focused, though. Nothing
Yeah.
distracted her.
And it
or-
was
Well,
so
you know.
inspiring.
We relied on each other. We've been together since she was 2, and so she's 10, almost 11, and it's just been me and her for a good chunk of her life.
Of your lives.
Yeah, my wife, me and her met, a few years ago, but still that's a good 6, 7 years where it was just me and her.
Mm-hmm.
So we really developed this really strong bond, especially when I first got injured, because I hit a very low spot in my life to where I really didn't feel like there was anyone there for me, and I would look over and there's Harley. There's Harley staring at me, just knowing that I am her entire world was enough purpose to keep pushing on to that next day until finally I was out of that slump that I needed to be in there.
This is the
That's so
crux
This is
of
the
what we're
crux of-
doing. This is why we want to bring that. You said something to me at the Emmys. You said, and you've had lots of drama in your life and injuries. And knowing that, you're not saying this, you told me, that when you were hit, the medic was close by and his bag was hit, and there was drugs in there like morphine that could have helped you initially, and you did not have any morphine
No.
with your wounds for how many hours?
Well, it was 40 minutes from
Oh.
the time that I got injured until the time that the helo came in.
Okay.
So luckily it wasn't super long, but that's still a long
But
But it
time.
must have seemed like an
Pretty-
eternity.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
darn painful.
Yeah, and so, I mean,
having said
adrenaline
this-
only does so
Yeah.
much.
Having
Yeah.
said this to me, he then proceeds to say, the most difficult, most painful part that I suffered from was waiting for Harley for 7 months. Now that's bonding, and that's very true, and it's very real, and we want to make that happen for
Yes.
the guys out
All right,
here
so-
waiting for their dogs.
So, without the help of Sweetheart or Loretta or anything, was it a whole process to get Harley to come back? I mean, you got sent back to the States without her?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
And so how did you get her? And what did you have to go through?
So it's a long story, and keep in mind when I tell you I was the exception, not the rule. And I
Right.
got very lucky because both my parents served, and they worked with one of the generals in charge of basically all the planes in the Air Force. And when he heard about my story, he would call me every week. And this is a general. This is very very important guy in the military. And he would call me once a week just to see how I was doing.
Wow, that's
And,
extraordinary.
Luckily and he was on the forefront, but there were a lot of people in the background. I have my buddy Tori, who was the contractor in charge of he was the first one to get the ball rolling, trying to get my leadership to basically approve Harley leaving. And then you have to go through the company that owns the dogs that's contracted out by the military. And no, sorry, we're going to give them to TSA or to the police department, because she was a great dog. She was great at what she did. And so letting her go would have been tough for them on a business level.
So when you got sent back, did she just get assigned to other people? Or?
She didn't get assigned to other people, so they have kind of like a doggy. It's a kennel, but it's back kind of in the safe side, like the bigger base, not where we were operating out of. And so she sat there for a while, and then when we got her stateside, she sat in the kennels where the company's services area.
Quarantined or
Not,
what?
yeah, I think they have to do a couple things. I wasn't really a part of that whole process, so I don't know everything there. But the general that helped us out, General Levy, he, like I said, he called me up one day, and I was a little frustrated because I was like, "Hey, sir, how you doing today?" And he asked me if anything was going on, and just without even thinking, I was like, I'm just kind of waiting for word on Harley because I haven't heard anything in the last week or two. And I didn't think anything of it, I was just kind of venting my frustration out. And then 45 minutes later, my dad calls, and he's like, "The next time you ask a general to help you, let me know, because now we have 300 people in this office running around trying to figure out where Harley's at." And sure enough, within 2 or 3 days, I got an email saying she was ready to be adopted.
All right, so now you told me the story of when you got reunited, and it made me cry a little while ago. So would you tell that again, and I'll try to keep myself under control. But
Wait, which
the
part?
moment when you got
Oh,
reunited.
the moment,
Yeah.
So, yeah, because it's still one of my favorite moments of all time too. So my dad actually went, because it was in Virginia where she was released. So my dad drove to Virginia and then flew her back to San Diego, where I was living at the time. And somehow word got out that she was coming into San Diego. And so there's this big welcoming party. Before I even got there, I walking up and there's just people with balloons and everything. And as I'm walking towards the escalator, I see my dad and Harley come down the escalator. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen a dog go down an escalator, but it's the
funny.
funniest thing.
Probably pretty funny, yeah.
She was terrified of those
What
things.
is this?
Yeah.
It's moving,
It's
and I'm
moving.
not.
Yeah. So she's coming down, and before I can even get down to the escalator, there's already like a crowd waiting for her. And so there's a circle around her, and she's like sniffing, and everyone's petting her and stuff like that. And so I finally get up to the front, and she's like coming around towards me, and I pet her, and I don't think she realized who I was at first, because
Just work in the room.
Yeah, and I had changed. My legs didn't smell the way they used to,
Yes.
Right.
and stuff like that. And so she worked around, and I pet her, and she didn't realize it was me. And at first, I was a little heartbroken, And so she kind of gets around to the opposite end, and I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden you just see her ears perk up. She does like a little 180 jump, and she just stares me right in the eyes, and was just like, "I'm so happy to see you."
She
Yeah.
like flew through the air. He
Yeah.
said it was
That's
like,
so beautiful. That's so
Yeah, and
beautiful.
like I said, I wish I would have brought the pictures, but there's a picture that somebody took that was great because it's us walking, and I had just gotten my legs. I'm using a cane, and there's Harley like doing mid jumps, on her two front legs, just so happy to be there and everything.
oh, you
my
must
gosh.
let us
Yeah.
have those pictures.
Yeah,
It
I'll
also
find them when we're done. I'll
Breaks
make
my
sure.
heart. What must she have been thinking when you weren't there anymore? I mean, how that dogs don't understand that you got sent somewhere else and all.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
this
must have been devastating for her as well.
I like to think so. We like to associate a lot of human emotions into animals.
I know,
And
I
dogs
do.
are very complex creatures, but they're also very adaptable. So she, there was all my brothers out there. They took care of her. The contractors, they love the dogs. They took care of her.
Yeah,
When she
they're-
got back stateside, those people took care of her. She was never alone, but for us to be together was
Right,
something
was
else.
the ultimate. So, but what you said is very true about our sensitivities and theirs. We network differently, but we bond the same way.
Yeah.
Now, I had 2 cats a year ago. So now the male died January 31st, 18. I took I used to call her his sister. They were just sort of litter mates. Not really, but anyway, I adopted them together, and they would sleep like spoons. I just assumed they were family. So I call her Sahara, his sister. So I took Sahara, and she mourned for a year, and there's no other way to explain it, because she's finally come out of mourning, that I am able to recognize that she was in mourning. She now is out, and she's with people, and she's coming into, I have friends, she'll come in, strangers there, it doesn't bother her, and she, is very social, and she would not hide under the bed, but she wouldn't come into a room like that. And she's now getting more affectionate with me, because her brother was really all over me and very affectionate. And so now she's almost getting to be like her brother was. And it's so clear that it was a mourning period for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had that, of course, with other animals I've had.
You have a little dog too, don't you?
I have a little Yorkie.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And they've adapted to each other too. I mean, that was a strange thing. And now the Yorkie, when Newbie was dying, he was with me. She was all over him, comforting him, and if he was on me, she was there. And at first, he didn't know how to feel about Sahara after Newbie died. So they are very complex. but their emotions and their feelings and sensitivities are very real, which accounts for the kind of flying leap bonding, that love that Harley has for you. And
Yeah, I mean, I think they pick up on what you're feeling for sure.
Yeah.
And I also think when they approach, they know if you're a dog person or not. You know, they know that here's gonna be some love for me. Yeah, you know, I mean, because I mean, the building I live in, New York, there's a lot of dogs, and it's like that's my evening. If I go downstairs, I have to play with all the dogs. Yeah, you know, and some of them are
Yes.
like looking and waiting, and they know that I want them to come up to me, and I really think they're very intuitive.
yeah,
You know, and I think of them
Thank
as
God for
humans.
that.
I know what you just said is true,
Yeah.
but I talk to them as if I'm talking to you. Yeah, you know. You
And
know.
they pick up, because they can't talk, dogs pick up on nonverbal clues
Uh-huh.
that we have, that maybe we pick up on, but we don't realize it. You know, we can talk, we've lost that a little bit. We've lost that way to like read people, but dogs, they
Yeah.
can do it. I could be, you know, when I'm angry or when I'm upset, I don't like to show it. I don't like to tell anyone. I just kind of get in my own little bubble and do my own thing.
sure,
Yeah.
Harley picks up on it right away.
sure.
She's right there next to me. She's looking up at me with those
Yeah.
eyes, like,
Oh.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on a plane about a year ago. Next to me on the aisle was a woman with a little terrier. It wasn't New York. It was a little terrier on her lap, wearing a little vest, saying that she was a service dog. And I thought, okay, I gotta look into this. You know, it's like this
Yeah.
little thing. Excuse me, madam, please tell me what service this little sweet fluff does here. Oh, she said, she takes out her pills. She tells me when to take my pill. I get seizures, and she knows before I do when one's coming
Oh,
on.
yeah, that's
So
a sniffy
she
thing,
tells-
isn't it? Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a,
well,
it's another one of those nonverbal things. Like
Ah.
they
That's
can
right.
they pick up on those subtle clues right before you're about to have it.
in your body, and they know before you do. Absolutely amazing. Well, Guide Dogs for the Blind that I work with, they're in Israel. They sent me a video. They're now pushing forward. They're teaching their dogs to be companions to PTSD victims. And so they showed in this video, this gentleman was having former soldier, was having a nightmare. And the dog got up from the side of the bed and went onto the bed and sort of like held him with her paws and gently woke him from this nightmare. So, and it's there, it's on video. You can see what they do for us, what they can do, what their capabilities are. You know, it's just
And it's all pure
really-
love too. You don't have to. Why I think, me personally, what I've noticed, why especially veterans, they reach out for an animal more than they'll reach out for human bonding, is because they know no matter what, that animal, that dog, what have you, is just gonna love you.
is going to be
No
there.
judgment.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad day and you yell at them, they won't get mad at you. They're not gonna get upset. They're gonna be there for you.
I saw a cartoon the other day, not animated, you know, a newspaper cartoon, and it was titled "Why Dogs Are Happier Than We Are," and it showed like these thought bubbles. Did you see
I've
that?
seen that. Yep.
And the man was like thinking about you know, restaurants and parties and travel,
Or like
right?
finances and stuff.
Finances, and the dog's bubble just had him and the man sitting exactly the way they were sitting.
Exact. When
Yeah, yeah,
when you
yeah.
have that coupling, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. That's what you see in Harley's eyes when he looks at you. There's nothing
Yeah.
else. You are the universe.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, it's unconditional. It's always there. You can rely on it. It's there. And but now, would you call Harley a TED dog? Was she a TED dog?
A TED dog?
For demolition.
Oh yeah, we call them IED dogs or IDD dogs, IED detection dogs.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. So
And-
TED. Yeah, I was about to say it sounded familiar. but
Learning
different
the language.
acronym.
I
It
am.
means like
Yeah,
a,
well,
a
there's
bomb sniffing dog,
there's
right?
a-
Yeah.
an organization that I'm very fond of working with called Justice for the TEDs. Well, they're, you know, Purple Hearts for the, they're organizations that are deeply aware of what's going on that I am going to partner with and, you know, talk to you about, and
Yeah.
we'll see what
Excited
we
for
can
that.
do.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
So Loretta, I mean, aside from being a caring person, which she really is,
Nah.
what got you started with your animal activism, as it were? I mean, what started it, and when did it start?
It started when I was a child. My parents told me that when I was in a stroller, I would see a dog and I would get crazy. Doggy, 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 doggy. They thought I was going to explode. I would just blow up like a little balloon. I'm not sure if that's where it started, but as I grew older, I was not in a wonderful neighborhood. And there was a lot of mistreatment that I saw. And I learned from negativity. I learned what not to do. I saw what was going on and I thought, that's wrong. And I grew up thinking, well, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to make it better. And I thought, doesn't anybody who knows that that's wrong is going to, well, I found out, no, that everybody doesn't do it. So I realized that I had to, because somebody had to. And then I started finding people who did care, and so it just went from there. Just joined many organizations, and vice president and actors and others for animals here in California.
Yeah, where Betty White is the great hero of all time for that, right?
Yes,
Betty
absolutely,
White. Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
We've been on many campaigns together, and she's an honorary board member, absolutely, Betty and I. But it's very important. I can tell you, off camera, some of our campaigns would go up, meet committees where they weren't allowing dogs. An elderly was being transferred to lower income housing, and they were saying this 81-year-old woman couldn't bring her 14-year-old cat. It was like, are you serious about this? And when we were through, they allowed 3 animals per person. But, Betty can be very persuasive. But I think that we've come into a time now we're starting to realize what animals give us, what we get from animals, and we're starting to do a little payback, and we're caring more, like what we're going to do and what's being done now. Wonderful organizations are getting out there and trying to make a difference.
So what you're going to do now, I mean, I think what you were sort of saying before, Chris, is that if you weren't from a military family or somehow privileged, that you might not have gotten her back, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't, I don't think.
Not as quickly,
Not
perhaps?
as it would have either been not as quickly or not at all, because I was just one handler of quite a few. I can't remember how many of us that went, but only a
David,
handful of us.
maybe doesn't understand that. There are different handlers. Like Chris went home and Harley was there. Harley might have been passed on to another handler,
Yes.
and then another.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it gets
that's
complicated.
perfect. Yeah, so to make it as uncomplicated as possible, the company, these dogs are basically, for lack of a better word, pieces of equipment. You know what I mean? The military uses them for a purpose.
Yes.
And just because you're done using them for their purpose doesn't mean that the government is done using them for that purpose. So a lot of times, again, I was the exception, not the rule. A lot of times what they'll do is, after you get done with your deployment, the dog goes back to the company, they have their R&R, and then they get ready to go with whatever unit is going to Afghanistan next. And so in the period of 6 years, 7 years, a dog can do upwards of 10 deployments.
You see, and
Oh,
10
I had no
different-
idea.
Yeah.
And 10 different handlers.
And 10 different handlers. Now, when that dog retires, they'll try to track, depending on how effective it is, they'll try to track the first handler and see if they want him. If not, then they'll go up the list. But more often than not, if a dog can't go to Afghanistan, then they'll try to, or if they don't need the dogs in Afghanistan, then they'll give them to TSA, they'll give them to the sheriff's department, the police department, whoever could use dogs. And so a lot of times they'll develop, especially if they go, a good buddy of mine, the dog he had in Afghanistan ended up going to the LA police department. And for years we tried to find her, and we just found out last year that that she was at LA. So my buddy flew all the way out there because his thought was he was going to get her back. And then he got there and he realized that too, and the LAPD's handler had gotten so bonded that she was now a part of their family. And that's tough. It's like, you love this dog and you want to be with this dog, but at the same time, again, dogs are adaptable, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
even though they had a bond, she also has a bond with
Now
this. And
with this guy.
But that's
Yes.
kind of devastating to me.
it is. I mean,
Because
it-
someone has to make a
that-
sacrifice.
Yeah.
One of the humans has to make a sacrifice,
yeah,
right?
and it,
Well,
there's
kind of, what, remember the old tale from the Bible about Solomon trying to find out which woman really was the mother?
Yeah.
And he said very wisely, all right, let's cut the baby in half, give one half there and one half there. And the real mother said no.
yeah.
Right.
The other one said yes, fine, because she wasn't sincerely
Right.
the mother. And I think that was obviously very wise and very painful, but also it was over a long period of time,
Yeah.
was it not? Because although that Pavlovian thing,
Yeah.
they're strongly adaptable, but it would take a long period of time
Yeah.
to not remember the first love.
Yeah. And it had been 6 years at that point.
That-
since
that's-
Right, so
they were
tell us,
together.
tell
That's
us
a long
what
time.
you two.
And the dog probably at that point figured out he was dead, or
Yeah, just
Oh.
yeah.
or something. Just who's to say what goes on in the mind of a dog?
I think they're
but-
more adaptable than us, certainly,
Yeah,
right?
and I would agree with that. I would agree with that. You've seen some of the conditions that you find some of these dogs in who've been
Yeah.
mistreated, as you've seen before. and
it's
as
It's horrible.
heartbreaking.
I can't even get on Facebook or anything like that without seeing a story of this dog who was found in like the worst conditions possible, and to survive something like that, you have to want to.
No,
And
yes.
you have a couple of
Yes.
rescue dogs other than Harley, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have he's a pit mix. He's Vader. He's the craziest, funniest dog ever. And then I
Uh-huh.
actually have another buddy of mine who runs a really great nonprofit, no-kill pet shelter in Bakersfield. I did an event with him, and he brought this little Chihuahua mix that was missing his back leg because he had gotten run over as a puppy, and his leg had just gotten shattered and infected, so
dear.
they had to cut it off. And the moment I saw him, I was like,
That's mine.
he's mine.
That's my dog.
He's mine, I
That's my-
call him. Yeah. And so him and Vader, they're best friends. They run around. Harley is, even though she was around a bunch of dogs, she never really got to associate with other dogs. She was always a person dog, not a dog.
Yeah.
And so now that she has Vader and Bones, she's become a lot more playful with
she have a
other
little
dogs.
She's also semi-retired, isn't she?
Yes,
I mean,
she's fully
she
retired
knows-
at this
yeah.
point. The Emmys was kind of like her last hurrah, because
Oh, and
now
she
I
was
just want
great.
her. I just want her to spend however many years. Hopefully it's the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Retired, sleeping
be
on the couch
wonderful.
with us.
So just
The-
tell me what.
How long is the dog's tour of duty? Just so that everybody
dog?
knows.
Good question.
7 years, I believe.
The dog's tour of duty. So, how long they're over there per deployment depends on the handler, how long they're there. But it could be. It's honestly until the company and the government deems the dog unfit
Just
to do their job. So
uh-huh,
it could be.
okay.
It could be as simple as one deployment, and then something happens and the dog just can't perform the way it does. Or some dogs, like I said, 10 deployments, 7 years. It kind of varies, but.
Yeah.
That's an issue that we're going to get deeply into.
Yeah,
But
so tell
first,
me. Oh, you want to do this first?
I want
Okay.
to give a
There's
few
a gift
things
for
to
you.
my hero.
Yes.
This
And
is
then I do
my-
have another
my
question.
first gift, and I'm going to prop it up against my friend here. This
Oh,
is
wow. That is beautiful.
That's Harley as we see him.
God, those eyes.
Yeah,
see it in those
those
eyes.
are those
Isn't it
eyes. Those are.
Can you all see it?
Those are
Can-
those eyes.
Can they see it, Kent? Yes? I see a thumbs up. Good.
I am.
Good.
That is amazing.
No, and Loretta, you're so talented with this. And Harlan, could I have one of Loretta's books?
This is amazing.
Okay, this is for
So
you
this book-
also. This book,
It's full of some of the other beautiful artwork that she's created.
but I have to tell you, I think this is the best, my best work so far. And
Oh,
my friends will say, you say that once in a while after the last painting. And I said, well, it sounds like maybe I'm improving or something like that. But no, I said, so much of me is in this gift because
It's in the
I
eyes.
hand
Look at the
carried.
eyes.
I hand carried. I mean, I wouldn't part with him. I wouldn't leave him in the car. So Harlan said, well, bring him in. It's okay if you bring her in, if you're nervous. But
Seriously, can't
she's-
even thank you enough. That's, yeah, the eyes is,
Yeah.
I
where-
didn't frame him. I just put him in a mat so that it wouldn't be damaged. But I thought that you and your wife would want to
Yeah.
do your decor and,
yeah.
good. So
That's-
you're happy with him and
love it.
Her. I
So
keep saying him.
tell me what you two hope to accomplish together as far as this military dog project.
Well,
Yeah.
I-
Yeah. How
I-
many
I was gonna
hours
say,
do
I
you
guess if you're
have?
gonna boil
In
it down,
7,000
it's
words
Yeah.
or less,
to
right?
save dogs and to save veterans,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
put them together.
And yes, when you were talking like some of the older guys who are still out there, let's say, and they don't have much of a future, let's like on those maybe first and bring those back, because there are people out there who want companion animals. Most of them are vets. So it's like vets helping vets. I've got vets training vets to. I mean, we've got the facilities and we've got the ambition and the energy to do this. All we need to do, and working with Chris this way, is which ones of these we can bring them back? Can we get?
Yeah, it'd
Can we get?
basically be the matchmakers to help with basically saving these lives, both the dogs and the veterans.
And the vets, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is your website for Sweetheart?
Sweetheart.org, and this is the book you can buy online. But this I want to maybe
Sweetheart. So it's SWIT
SWIT, capital HEART
.org, which means it's a nonprofit.
That's another retriever. That's a search rescue animal, and
People
that was
can buy this
my-
book too
my-
on the website?
Oh yes,
And-
please.
And I know you don't
And-
get a dime out of it, right?
No,
Yeah.
everything, all the profits of anything I do. I have Sweetheart ring that I'm wearing, and so anyhow, it's mostly animals, and I want to show you just one picture. It's a photo, not a painting, in the front, and in a word or in a photo, it tells you what I feel about animal companions and battle dogs. This is a search rescue dog.
Can we show them? Yeah.
And they're trained in Ojai,
Oh.
and I've watched them being trained. It's just so inspiring. These massive paws climbing up this slender stick of a ladder to save
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
So I'm going to sign this and everything, give it to my hero, and he's going to have his
I love
girl
it.
Harley
Yes.
to frame. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased.
We should also mention the human addition to your family.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Brand
Chris has a
new,
son. I think
brand
most
new-
of you
We've
know
been talking
that.
about
Milo.
been
you
talking
talk
about fur
bonding.
babies.
Right,
We've been
right.
talking about human babies. I just had not just, he's 6 months old now, but that's still pretty new for
It's
being
still
a parent.
a baby,
Yeah.
dear.
And he's just sprouting up
He's
like a
Milo?
weed. Milo, yep. Milo
Great
Taylor.
name. Great
Thank
name.
you, thank you.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
Milo.
nice? It is
Yeah,
a nice
yeah,
name,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Milo after Sam, my wife's grandfather, and then Taylor is after my buddy who I lost the night I was injured. And so it's just, I think, a way, because her grandfather, sorry, not a father, her grandfather was also a veteran who has a Bronze Star, but because he never talked about it, we don't know what it's from. And just, I think, to carry on to great men's legacies like that.
Wow.
That's very
yes.
moving.
Wow.
That's
wow.
very
So
moving.
tell about Harley and Milo.
Oh, I don't know what it is. Like, Milo loves Harley, and I mean, who doesn't? Everybody
Right.
who
Everybody
meets
loves
Harley.
Harley. Right.
Everybody who meets Harley falls in love with
Yeah.
her, but she could literally just walk by him and he cracks up laughing. thinks she's the funniest dog ever. Just like will nonstop. I can't even make him laugh that hard. Just something that she does, he can't stop laughing at. So
That's
yeah,
fabulous.
it's great.
That's fabulous. Are you trying to ask us something?
Yes, I want to address some of these questions.
Oh.
The nominations already been announced and when are the Emmys?
Oh, back
Oh.
to the Emmys. Yes.
You remember that.
Remember the
We
Emmys.
have 2 minutes to go.
All right, so actually, today, the voting for the Blue Ribbon Round has begun, and that'll go on for a couple of weeks. And that will determine the winners and nominees. The nominations will be announced on March 20th, and we've once again happily been invited back to do it on The Talk on CBS, so we'll do that on March 20th. Plus, of the full list will be on our, right on this page where you're on now, you can get to it on our website. The Emmys themselves are on Cinco de Mayo this year, on May 5th. Yes? Did I answer you?
How
Yeah.
can we watch them, and will they be on TV?
Well, here's the story, guys. I would predict, although nothing's signed and sealed, that we'll do the same thing we did last year, which is it was streamed all over the world through a company called KNEKT TV, who's also bringing this to you right now, and a company called Switchboard. And I'm proud to say we were the only national award show to have an increase in viewership last year. So it's working. It's working, and literally a worldwide audience that night. So, I mean, you'll all be able to see it. There'll also be another live red carpet show, again hosted by Carolyn Hennessy. And we're very excited about this year. I don't want to give too much away, but one of the great things we're going to be doing is honoring the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 50 years.
Yes.
50 years of Sesame Street, and a lot of other surprises too. So you're going to be happy.
Yeah. And we should mention that Chris is coming to be with me for the Icon Awards.
Oh, are you?
You are, aren't you? Okay.
Mhm. Yes, I am.
When,
didn't wanna-
when I
yeah.
last talked.
Here's a good last one as we wrap up. I love a good animal love story better than a human story. Any chance of bringing Harley and Chris's story to TV with Loretta and Chris?
Wow.
Could they hear? Do you think they could hear the question?
Did-
Is
did
there
you
any
want-
chance of bringing Chris and Harley's story to TV
With Loretta?
with Loretta?
I vote for that.
Let's say never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Well,
say
it's.
never.
I mean, I always thought it would be an amazing movie or TV
yeah.
movie.
I'd have to agree. Yeah.
And who will we get to play
What a
Chris?
guy.
I don't know. We'll have to wait for someone. I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, who's going to play Harley if she wants to be retired? You
Well,
see?
she'll have to be a young Harley too.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah, we'd have to have a
be in it.
casting set. Oh, I want to go to that casting session with the
Same
dogs.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll all be hired. We're just gonna have.
Yeah, that would be
100
tough.
Right,
Yeah. We have
right.
100
Right.
Harleys.
So
Yeah, you're one of a kind.
it
guy.
seems to me like we just started talking and now we're being told to wrap up.
Oh,
but
right. Yes,
yeah, I
well,
interviewed Loretta in Texas a few months ago, and the same thing happened. I had this folder of bullet points, and I never opened it, and an hour and a half had gone by. So both of you are just so wonderful to talk to.
Thank you.
No, it's been
Hope we can do this again. I'd love to hear more as there's progress in your
Yes,
joint
we'd
project.
like you to check in.
Yes,
and,
yes.
We'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. And so we really have to go, Harlan? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do we really?
Do we really? Right. I can't thank you guys enough. This was so
Was it good?
delightful
Was it good? You know, we're just
and
like we have so
wonderful.
much to say. And
Yeah,
it's
I could
difficult,
go on
yeah.
with you guys for hours.
Yeah.
So we'll be back soon with more of our Facebook Lives. Please keep following us on Twitter at Daytime Emmys and on this very Facebook page for all the news. And we will see you soon. Bye.